All right, you connoisseurs and organic food lovers, put down that avocado toast. Seriously, place the toast gently on your reclaimed wood table and back away. No sudden movements. We're just going to have a little chat about food. You think your local supermarket is a temple of nourishment? Oh, sweet summer child. It's an exhibition hall for the chemical industry and a masterclass in marketing hypnosis. We've been trained to believe that a picture of a smiling grandma or a blissfully ignorant cow on the label means the product was made with love. In reality, it was made with a level of cynicism that would make a Las Vegas card shark blush. Today, we're going to gut 50 products that are merely cosplaying as food. Brace yourselves. We're about to rip the masks off your dinner. It's going to be painful, hilarious, and you might feel a little hungry afterwards. Fact the first. Whiskey. The middle-aged man's fake tan. You pour a glass of that fine, aged whiskey. You admire its noble, deep amber hue, the color of old money and leather-bound books. You think you're sipping on history, on character forged through years in a sacred oak barrel. Now, hold on to your tweed jacket. In the vast majority of cases, that distinguished color has nothing to do with age. Zero. It's a dye job. Manufacturers legally use a food coloring called Spirit Caramel E150A to give their young, insecure spirits a mature and consistent look. It's faster and cheaper than actually waiting for the barrel to do its work. So that 12-year-old look is often just a quick splash of brown paint. You're not drinking a sophisticated spirit. You're drinking a nervous teenager who used fake tan to sneak into a bar. You're paying a premium for liquid makeup. A bottled lie that's about as authentic as a reality TV star's emotions. Cheers to that. Fact the second. Craft beer, the corporate drone in a flannel shirt. You walk into a pub and proudly order a pint from some obscure brewery with a quirky name like the Grumpy Badger's Left Sock. You feel like a rebel, an individual supporting the little guy against the bland, watery lagers of the corporate giants. Well, isn't that adorable? The reality is that the global beer conglomerates are masters of disguise. They create their own fake craft brands or simply buy out the small, authentic breweries that you thought you loved. That rebellious IPA you're sipping, with its label designed by a guy with a handlebar mustache in Brooklyn, it's likely owned by the same boardroom suits in Brussels who produce that generic beer your dad drinks while mowing the lawn. You think you're funding an artist, but you're just giving your money to a corporate behemoth wearing a clever Halloween costume. It's like thinking you're having a deep conversation with Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. Get this, it's just a sweaty guy in a suit who has to follow a script. Fact the third. Wasabi peas, the anxious imposter at the snack party. You grab a handful of those vibrant green peas, ready for that exhilarating sinus-clearing kick. You pop them in your mouth and feel the familiar punch that makes you feel alive and worldly. Ah, the true taste of Japan, you think, congratulating yourself on your adventurous palate. Now for the letdown. Just like that sad green paste next to your sushi, the coating on these peas has almost never met a real wasabi plant. That fiery sensation is delivered by its much cheaper, blunter cousin, horseradish, mixed with a bit of mustard powder for good measure. And that bright green color? That's not nature, my friend. That's a cocktail of synthetic food dyes, probably blue number 1 and yellow number 5. You're not eating an exotic delicacy. You're eating a regular garden pea that's been slathered in cheap horseradish and then spray-painted green. It's the culinary equivalent of putting a cheap spoiler on a Toyota Camry and calling it a race car. It makes a lot of noise, but it's fooling no one. Fact the fourth. The sizzling skillet effect, a puff of hot air. The waiter carries it through the restaurant, a cast-iron skillet of fajitas or steak, hissing and popping like a tiny volcano, enveloped in a dramatic cloud of steam. Heads turn. You think, wow, that's fresh off the grill. You're not just getting a meal, you're getting a show. But here's the secret to that little piece of dinner theater. The food is often fully cooked in the kitchen, and the skillet is heated separately until it's screaming hot. The magic trick? Just before it leaves the kitchen, the chef, oh, the drama, splashes a bit of water, beer, or cheap sauce onto the hot iron. The result is an instant, impressive, and utterly fake cloud of steam and sizzle. You've been seduced by a special effect. a simple trick of physics designed to make you think your food is hotter and fresher than it actually is. It's the restaurant equivalent of a magician pulling a rabbit from a hat, except the rabbit is your dinner and the hat is a lie. Fact the fifth. Edible gold, the art of bedazzling your bowel movements. You see it on a 50-pound dessert or a fancy cocktail. Delicate flakes of edible gold. It whispers of luxury, of pure, unapologetic decadence. You eat it and feel like a Roman emperor, if only for a moment. You're consuming precious metal. Now, let's talk about what's actually happening. That gold, designated as food additive E175, is biologically inert. This means it has no taste, no smell, and your body cannot absorb it whatsoever. It passes straight through your digestive system without a single nutrient being extracted, and ends up exactly where you think it does. You are literally paying a fortune for the privilege of making your own waste more expensive. It's the ultimate act of pointless consumption, like putting diamond hubcaps on a garbage truck. You think you're tasting luxury, but you're just decorating your sewage. Kim Kardashian would be proud of that level of expensive, glittering emptiness. Fact the sixth. Ground black pepper, kitchen dust with a kick. You reach for the pre-ground black pepper shaker, because who has the time to grind their own peppercorns? It's convenient, simple, and it adds that little kick to your meal. You sprinkle it on your pasta, thinking you're adding a classic spice. But what if I told you that you might be seasoning your food with more than just pepper? To increase volume and profit, some less than honest producers have been known to mix in fillers. And we're not talking about other spices. We're talking about things like ground papaya seeds, buckwheat husks, or, seriously, even common dust. The strong flavor of the pepper is great at masking the taste of these cheap additives. So while you think you're adding a pinch of authentic Piper nigrum, you could be adding a pinch of warehouse floor sweepings. It's less of a spice and more of a terrestrial mystery box. You're just hoping you got a good batch, the one with slightly less dirt in it. Fact the seventh. Canned tuna in its own juice, a fishy broth of lies. You open a can of tuna, drained of its own juice, feeling healthy and sensible. It's pure protein, right? Straight from the ocean. That juice is just the natural liquid from the fish, maybe with a bit of salt. That's the story anyway. The reality is that juice is often a carefully engineered liquid called a broth. It's not just water and salt. It's often a vegetable broth, frequently containing soy protein and yeast extract, designed to do two things. First, it adds a significant amount of weight to the can, meaning you're paying for more water and less fish. Second, it infuses the bland, overcooked tuna with a savory, umami flavor to make it more palatable. You're not eating fish in its natural state. You're eating fish that's been plumped up and flavored by a cheap, factory-made soup. It's like a bodybuilder injecting themselves with water to look bigger on stage. All show, very little substance. Fact the eighth. Detox teas, the laxative in a pretty dress. You decide it's time for a cleanse. You buy a box of detox tea with a picture of a serene lotus flower on it, promising to purify your body and give you a flat stomach. You drink it and, well, things certainly start moving. You feel lighter, cleansed, vindicated. But you haven't been purified. You've been purged. Most of these so-called detox teas are just expensive herbal laxatives. Their primary active ingredient is often senna leaf, a powerful natural substance that irritates your bowel lining and makes you go to the toilet. A lot. Any weight you lose is just water and waste being flushed out of your system. You're not burning fat. You're just giving yourself a mild, socially acceptable bout of diarrhea. It's not a health drink. It's a plumber's snake for your insides, packaged with calming yoga studio aesthetics to make you feel good about the abuse you're inflicting on your colon. Fact the ninth. Scrambled eggs at hotels. The yellow carton of sadness. You're at the hotel breakfast buffet, and you see a huge, steaming tray of fluffy, perfectly yellow scrambled eggs. They look so uniform, so inviting. You pile them on your plate, thinking of a hearty, farm-fresh breakfast. Wake up. In most large-scale catering situations, those eggs have never seen the inside of a shell. They are often made from a prepackaged liquid egg mixture or melange that comes in a carton like milk. This industrial slurry contains not just eggs, but also water, stabilizers, preservatives, and color enhancers to keep them looking fresh and perfectly yellow for hours under a heat lamp. It's an engineered egg product designed for maximum efficiency and minimum effort. You're not eating a lovingly prepared breakfast. You're eating a rehydrated chemical compound that vaguely resembles something a chicken once produced. It's the culinary equivalent of an inflatable companion. It looks the part from a distance, but up close it's just a sad, lifeless imitation. Fact the 10th. Worcestershire sauce, the anchovy's secret revenge. You splash some Worcestershire sauce on your steak or in your Bloody Mary, adding that complex, savory depth of flavor. What is that mysterious taste? It's a closely guarded secret, a symphony of vinegar, molasses, and exotic spices, right? Well, one of the key ingredients isn't so much a spice as it is a tiny, salty fish. A core component of the classic Lay and Perrins recipe is fermented anchovies. Yes, those hairy little fish you either love or hate are dissolved in vinegar barrels for months until they break down into a pungent, flavor-packed sludge. This fishy essence is what gives the sauce its signature umami kick. So, to all you people who dramatically proclaim, "Ew, I hate anchovies," while dousing your food in this sauce, oh please, you've been eating liquid fish concentrate your whole life. The anchovy always gets the last laugh, hiding in plain sight on your dinner table, mocking your culinary pretensions from its brown, unassuming bottle. Fact the 11th. Oak-aged wine, a tea party in a steel vat. You swirl the glass of red wine, holding it up to the light. You take a sip and thoughtfully declare, I'm getting distinct oaky notes. You imagine your wine resting for years in magnificent, handcrafted oak barrels in a dusty French cellar. You feel worldly, sophisticated, practically a sommelier. Now, put the glass down before you hurt yourself. To save a fortune on expensive barrels, many modern wineries use a shortcut that's about as romantic as assembling IKEA furniture. They ferment the wine in massive, soulless stainless steel tanks and simply dump in bags of oak chips, staves, or even sawdust. That's right. It's not a slow, noble aging process. It's a giant vat of cheap grape juice making tea with wood shavings. The oaky notes you're so proud of detecting are, get this, the result of what is essentially a tea bag full of splinters. You're not tasting the soul of a forest. You're tasting an industrial infusion, a quick and dirty flavor hack. It's the winemaking equivalent of getting a tattoo of a six-pack instead of actually going to the gym. Fact the 12th. Portobello mushrooms, the geriatric fraud of the fungus world. Oh, the mighty portobello mushroom, the steak of the vegetable kingdom. You see it on menus for an extra £5, a big, meaty cap grilled to perfection. It seems so much more substantial, so much more gourmet than its pathetic little white cousins. You're choosing the grown-up option. Let me break this to you gently. A portobello mushroom is not a different, superior species. It is the exact same fungus, wait for it, as the common cheapest chips button mushroom. It's just one that was left on the growing bed for longer, an overgrown senior citizen of the mushroom world. Portobellos, creminis, and white button mushrooms are all just different life stages of Agaricus bisporus. You are paying a premium for a mushroom that simply got old. It's a marketing masterstroke. Take a common product, let it grow past its prime, give it a fancy Italian name, and sell it to suckers at triple the price. You're not eating a delicacy. You're eating a mushroom that started collecting its pension. Fact the 13th. Coffee pods. A ransom note for your morning Joe. You love your sleek, stylish coffee pod machine. It's so simple, so clean. One button and you get a perfect barista-quality espresso with a flawless crema. You feel like you've hacked the system, bringing the artisan coffee shop into your kitchen. You haven't hacked anything. You've been taken hostage. The actual amount of coffee in that tiny plastic pod costs, are you sitting down? Pennies. A pittance. The vast majority of the price you pay covers the cost of the plastic cup, the foil lid, the enormous marketing budget, and the patent that locks you into their ecosystem. It's the printer and ink cartridge scam, brilliantly repurposed for your caffeine addiction. You're not buying coffee, you're renting a delivery system. You're paying for the most expensive single-serving piece of plastic trash you'll generate all week. It's like buying a single slice of bread that comes in a locked, diamond-encrusted box that you have to throw away after opening. Fact the 14th. Fruity yogurt, a sugar slurry in a health costume. You open a pot of strawberry or peach yogurt, feeling virtuous. You see those little chunks of fruit and think you're getting your 5 a day. It's healthy, it's natural, it's a lie. That fruit you're eating is often a sad imitation of the real thing. It's a pre-made fruit preparation, a gloopy concoction of sugar, cornstarch, water, artificial flavorings, chemical preservatives, and, oh yeah, a tiny percentage of actual, unrecognizable fruit pulp that's been boiled into submission. The vibrant color? Not from the fruit, darling. It's from dyes, sometimes even the infamous crushed insects we talked about. They don't use a lot of real fruit because it's expensive and unpredictable, so they create this stable, hyper-sweet jelly instead. You're not eating a healthy dairy product with fruit. You're eating a milk-based dessert with what is essentially a spoonful of cheap, factory-made jam mixed in. It's candy masquerading as a health food. Fact the 15th. Frozen yogurt, the high-fructose imposter. You choose frozen yogurt over ice cream because you're being healthy. It's the smart choice, the low-fat alternative. You pat yourself on the back as you pile on the toppings, blissfully unaware of the scam. Here's the cold, hard truth. To make something with less fat taste good, you have to replace that creamy texture and flavor with something else. And that something else is almost always sugar, a lot of it. Many commercial frozen yogurts contain as much, or, seriously, even more sugar than full-fat ice cream. They needed to stop the mixture from turning into a sour, icy brick, and to fool your brain into thinking it's a decadent treat. The healthy halo is pure marketing fiction. You've just swapped one vice, fat, for another, a metric ton of sugar. It's not a health food, it's a sugar bomb wearing yoga pants, pretending to be your friend while it plots against your pancreas. Fact the 16th. Artificially marbled beef, Botox for your brisket. You see a steak with a perfect, intricate web of fat running through the muscle. That's marbling, the sign of a prime, expensive cut of meat. That fat will melt during cooking, making the steak juicy and flavorful. It's the pinnacle of beef. But what if that marbling wasn't natural? In some parts of the world, a technology exists called artificial marbling. It's exactly what it sounds like. They take a cheap, lean cut of beef and use a machine with dozens of tiny needles to inject it with a liquid fat emulsion. Voila! Instant fake marbling. It's cosmetic surgery for a dead cow. You're paying top dollar for what you think is a genetically superior, well-raised animal, but what you might be getting is a cheap cut that's been given a set of fatty implants. It's a culinary catfish, a piece of meat that's lying about its upbringing. It looks like a millionaire, but it's just a pauper with a good makeup artist. Fact the 17th. Bottled salad dressing, wallpaper paste with a PhD in deception. You buy a bottle of creamy Caesar or tangy French dressing to liven up your sad desk salad. You think you're adding a gourmet touch. What you're actually adding is a chemical miracle of modern engineering. The first ingredient in most of these dressings is not oil or vinegar, it's water. To turn that water into something thick, creamy, and shelf-stable for 2 years, they have to load it up with an unholy trinity of cheap vegetable oil, high-fructose corn syrup, and a whole platoon of chemical soldiers. Gums, starches, emulsifiers, and preservatives. These ingredients exist for one reason: to stop the cheap oil and water from separating, and to give the concoction a texture that vaguely resembles food. You're not dressing your salad, you're mummifying it in a slick of sweetened, stabilized science. You might as well just squeeze a tube of PVA glue on your lettuce. It would probably have less sugar. Fact the 18th. Low sodium salt, the bitter, metallic understudy. Concerned about your blood pressure, you switch to low sodium salt. You feel responsible. like you've made a real sacrifice for your health. The sacrifice you've made, my friend, is taste. To reduce the sodium, manufacturers replace a portion of the sodium chloride, the stuff that actually tastes like salt, with its awkward, less talented cousin, potassium chloride. While potassium is a vital nutrient, its chloride form has a distinctly bitter, metallic aftertaste. It doesn't enhance flavor in the same magical way. It just adds a weird, chemical tang. Food companies then have to add other masking agents and flavor enhancers to try and cover up this unpleasantness. You've been convinced to buy a product that performs its primary function poorly, all in the name of health. It's like replacing the sugar in a cake with sand because it has fewer calories. It might technically work, but oh, the humanity. You've ruined the whole point. Fact the 19th. Fresh, chilled meat. The zombie in the butcher's aisle. You're at the supermarket, looking at the trays of fresh, never-frozen chicken breasts or steaks. They look plump and pink, resting on their little absorbent pads. You pay the higher price because fresh is always better than frozen. Or is it? A dirty little secret of the industry is that it's perfectly legal in many places to freeze meat, transport it, and then thaw it out to be sold as previously frozen, or sometimes, less scrupulously, just placed in the chilled section. This zombie meat is often waterlogged from the thawing process, has a mushier texture, and a much shorter shelf life once you get it home. You're paying a premium for a product with inferior quality that's masquerading as fresh. It's the equivalent of a B-movie actor who got a facelift and is now trying to pass himself off as a young new star. He might look the part under the bright lights, but the magic doesn't last. Fact the 20th. The air in your chip bag, a pillow of disappointment. You open a family-sized bag of crisps and are greeted by a sad, half-empty cavern. "I've been robbed," you cry. "It's half air." Well, you're right and you're wrong. You have been robbed, but not by air. That gas isn't the same stuff you're breathing. The bags are pumped full of nitrogen gas in a process called modified atmosphere packaging. This isn't for your benefit. Not really. The nitrogen displaces oxygen, which prevents the oils in the chips from going rancid and stale, extending the shelf life from days to months. It also creates a cushion to stop the delicate chips from being crushed into dust during transit. So yes, it has a purpose. But the main result is that you are buying a bag that is mostly a protective bubble of industrial-grade gas, with a small serving of snacks thrown in as an afterthought. You're not buying a bag of chips. You're buying a tiny, edible art installation in its own personal, inflatable gallery. Fact the 21st. Powdered wine. Just add water and despair. Imagine a world where you can make wine just by adding water to a pouch of powder. Sounds like science fiction, right? Something a struggling astronaut might drink. Well, the technology not only exists, but it's the ultimate insult to winemaking. They take real wine, dehydrate it into a sad, granular powder, and sell it in sachets. The idea is that you can reconstitute it later by adding water and, in some cases, a separate packet of alcohol. You think you're being clever and modern? You're participating in an act of enological vandalism. You are drinking a ghost, the desiccated corpse of a wine that's been stripped of its soul, its texture, and, get this, nearly all of its complex flavor. It's the Kool-Aid of the wine world, a pathetic party trick for people who find opening a real bottle too much effort. It bears the same relationship to actual wine as a child's stick figure drawing does to the Mona Lisa. It's technically a picture of a person, but all the magic is gone. Fact the 22nd. Freshly baked aroma, the scent of a liar. You walk past a bakery or a coffee shop and you're hit by that irresistible, intoxicating smell of freshly baked bread or brewing coffee. It feels so wholesome, so comforting. It lures you in like a cartoon character floating on a scent wave. You've just been played. Many commercial establishments don't leave that delicious smell to chance. They use industrial-grade scent diffusers, little aerosol machines that pump out a chemically synthesized, freshly baked or roasted coffee aroma into the air. They can create that perfect, mouth-watering smell on demand, even if, wait for it, they haven't baked a single thing in hours. Their products are often pre-baked, frozen, and simply reheated on site. The smell is a lie, a fragrant piece of stagecraft designed to manipulate your primal instincts and trick you into buying something. You're not following your nose to a delicious treat. You're being led by the nose by a can of air freshener with a very specific agenda. Fact the 23rd. Saffron, the red threads of deceit. Saffron, the world's most expensive spice, worth more than its weight in gold. You buy a tiny vial of it to make your paella or risotto feel authentically luxurious. You feel like a king. But the chances of you buying pure, real saffron are depressingly slim. This is the most counterfeited spice on the planet. What you're often buying isn't the delicate stigmas of the crocus flower at all. It's a clever forgery. Dishonest merchants will sell you dyed safflower threads, corn silk, shredded paper, or even coconut fibers that have been tinted red. They look the part, but they have zero, and I mean zero, of saffron's unique honeyed aroma and flavor. You are paying a king's ransom for what is essentially arts and crafts material that's been dressed up for a fancy dress party. You think you're adding a touch of ancient Persian luxury to your dish, but you're actually just stirring in some nicely colored threads that might as well have come from a cheap tassel. Fact the 24th. Canned diced tomatoes, the calcium chloride conspiracy. You're making a sauce, and you want it to be smooth and rich. You grab a can of diced tomatoes, but no matter how long you simmer them, they refuse to break down. They remain stubbornly, unnervingly firm and chunky. What's going on? Are these super tomatoes? No. You've fallen victim to a food science trick. To keep the diced tomato pieces looking perfectly square and separate in the can, manufacturers add an ingredient called calcium chloride. It's a firming agent that strengthens the cell walls of the fruit, preventing it from turning into mush. While this is great for a salad, it's a disaster for a pasta sauce. You've bought a product that has been chemically engineered not to do the one thing you need it to do. So you stand there, stirring a lumpy, watery sauce, cursing your culinary skills, when the real culprit is, surprise, surprise, the industrial additive in the can. It's like trying to build a sandcastle with bricks that have been pre-coated in superglue. Fact the 25th. Truffle oil, the perfume you can eat. Oh, the intoxicating aroma of truffle oil. A few drops can transform humble fries or pasta into a 5-star dish. You drizzle it on, feeling impossibly chic, convinced you're tasting the essence of rare, expensive fungi hunted by trained pigs in an Italian forest. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you're eating a lie. More than 95% of truffle oil on the market has never been near a real truffle. That powerful, earthy scent comes from a synthetic chemical compound called 2,4-dithiapentane, an aromatic molecule that was originally isolated from truffles but is now created cheaply in a lab from petroleum byproducts. Yes, petroleum. You are essentially drizzling your food with a garlic and sulfur-scented perfume. It's a chemical impersonator, an olfactory stunt double. Real truffles have a delicate, complex aroma that fades quickly. That sledgehammer of a scent you get from the bottle? It's the loud, obnoxious fraud that real chefs, seriously, despise. Fact the 26th. Protein powder, the bodybuilder's baby formula. You're serious about your fitness, so you chug a protein shake after every workout. You check the label, 25 grams of pure muscle-building power. You feel like a dedicated athlete. But what's in the rest of that scoop? Often, the bulk of your expensive protein powder isn't protein at all. It's cheap fillers. A common one is maltodextrin, a highly processed white powder made from corn, rice, or potato starch. It's a cheap carbohydrate that adds volume, improves texture, and stops the powder from clumping. But make no mistake, it is a form of sugar. It spikes your blood sugar just as fast as table sugar, which is probably not what you are aiming for. You're paying a premium for a tub of what you believe is pure protein, but what you're getting is a significant amount of cheap, sugary filler. It's like buying a gold bar and finding out the inside is made of nougat. Fact the 27th. Vegan burgers. The veggie patty that bleeds a lie. You order the plant-based burger, feeling good about your ethical, healthy choice. It looks like meat, it sizzles like meat, and it even bleeds a pinkish juice when you bite into it. It's a miracle of food science. It is indeed a miracle of marketing. To achieve that meaty taste and texture, these patties are often ultra-processed cocktails of isolated soy protein, yeast extracts for that umami flavor, and a ton of vegetable oil to simulate the juiciness of fat. And that clever bleeding effect? It's often achieved by adding, wait for it, beetroot juice. You're not eating a simple, healthy vegetable patty. You're eating a highly engineered food product that has been scientifically tortured to imitate the thing you're trying to avoid. It can often contain just as much fat and salt as a real meat burger. It's the drag queen of the food world, a spectacular, convincing performance, but underneath all the makeup and clever padding, it's something else entirely. Fact the 28th. Rice milk, the water that went to college. You pour rice milk on your cereal, convinced you're making the superior, clean-living choice over dairy. It's plant-based. It must be packed with goodness. Let's look at what's actually in the carton. Rice milk is made by blending milled rice with water. That's it. The end result is a thin, sweet liquid that is overwhelmingly, are you ready for this? Water and carbohydrates. It contains virtually no protein and very few of the vitamins and minerals found in cow's milk, unless the manufacturer has artificially fortified it by adding them back in later. You're essentially paying £4 for a carton of sugary water that's been thickened with rice starch. It's the nutritional equivalent of a ghost. Calling it milk is a marketing masterstroke of epic proportions. It's like selling a glass of tap water with a single grain of sand in it and calling it seaside essence. Fact the 29th. Soft serve ice cream, the edible packing foam. There's something magical about soft serve ice cream from a machine. That perfect, gravity-defying swirl. That uniquely smooth, airy texture. You think it's just a softer, fresher version of regular ice cream. Oh, you sweet, naive fool. The mix used in those machines is a chemical marvel designed for longevity and performance. It comes as a liquid or powder and is loaded with stabilizers, emulsifiers, and bulking agents. These ingredients are what allow it to hold that iconic swirl and prevent it from freezing into a solid block of ice inside the machine. A key part of the process is overrun, the amount of air that is whipped into the mix as it freezes. Soft serve can be up to 50% air. You're not paying for cream and sugar, you're paying for a significant amount of chilled atmosphere, held together by a web of chemical engineering. It's not so much food as it is a delicious, edible foam insulation. Fact the 30th. Kalamata olives, the Greek impersonator. You buy a jar of beautiful, almond-shaped, dark purple Kalamata olives. You're buying a taste of Greece, a premium product from a specific region, protected by EU law. You feel like you're eating sunshine and tradition. But the name Kalamata has become a global marketing term. True Kalamata olives must be grown in the Kalamata region of Greece. However, many olives sold under that name are simply other varieties of purple olive that have been cured in a similar Kalamata style, i.e. in a wine vinegar brine. They may come from Turkey, Egypt, or anywhere else. Unless the jar specifically states PDO, Protected Designation of Origin, you are likely eating a forgery. You're paying for a famous brand name, but you're getting a generic product that's just wearing the right costume. It's like buying a London Fog trench coat and then finding out it was made in a shed in Croydon. It looks the part, but it lacks the pedigree you paid for. Fact the 31st. Oysters and their gender, the flip-flopping politician of the sea. You're at a fancy seafood bar, slurping down oysters and feeling like a high roller. You toast to the good life, admiring these mysterious, briny aphrodisiacs. You probably assume they live their lives as distinctly male or female, just like us land dwellers. Oh, how beautifully simple the world looks from your bar stool. The truth is that oysters are the original gender fluid pioneers. They are what's known as sequential hermaphrodites, meaning they can, and frequently do, change their sex multiple times throughout their lives. An oyster will typically start its adult life as a male, and then, after a year or two, decide to switch teams and become female. Then it might switch back again. You're eating a creature with a more complicated romantic history than a character in a soap opera. So the next time you're enjoying a dozen on the half shell, just remember, you're not just eating a simple mollusk. You're eating a gender-bending, sea-dwelling libertine that plays by its own rules. Fact the 32nd. Creamy taste, the chemical shortcut to your heart. You love that rich, buttery, creamy flavor in your microwave popcorn, your coffee creamer, or your favorite biscuits. It's the taste of comfort, of pure, fatty indulgence. But that flavor often has nothing to do with actual butter or cream. It's the work of a chemical compound called diacetyl. This molecule is a master of disguise, perfectly mimicking the taste of butter and fooling your brain into thinking you're eating something far more luxurious than you are. It's cheap, it's potent, and it's everywhere. So that double butter popcorn you're inhaling during movie night, its flavor was most likely, are you ready for this? Designed in a lab by a scientist in a white coat. You're not tasting the product of a happy cow. You're tasting a synthetic illusion, a clever chemical phantom that knows exactly which pleasure center buttons to push in your brain. It's the flavor equivalent of a deepfake video, utterly convincing but completely artificial. Fact the 33rd. Wasabi paste, the green lie that burns. You're at a sushi restaurant, cautiously dabbing a tiny bit of green paste onto your California roll. You brace for the intense, head-clearing heat that you believe comes from the rare and revered Japanese wasabi root. You feel authentic, a true culinary adventurer. Now, let's bring you back down to earth with a thud. In 99% of sushi restaurants outside of Japan, the green stuff on your plate is a complete and utter fraud. It contains absolutely zero real wasabi. It is a cheap, deceptive paste made from horseradish, mustard powder, and green food coloring. That's it. Real wasabi from the Wasabia japonica plant is incredibly expensive and difficult to grow. Its flavor is more complex, herbal, and fleeting than the brutal, one-note punch of horseradish. You're not eating an exotic Japanese delicacy. You are eating, seriously, colored mustard. You've been paying a premium for a dab of spicy green putty that's about as Japanese as a cheeseburger. Fact the 34th. Grapeseed oil, the industrial waste product in your kitchen. You buy grapeseed oil because it sounds elegant and healthy. It has a high smoke point, a clean taste, and it comes from grapes. It must be good for you. You picture lush Italian vineyards and artisanal presses. The reality is a little less picturesque. Grapeseed oil is a byproduct of the winemaking industry. The seeds are what's left over after the grapes have been crushed. To extract the tiny amount of oil from these hard seeds, most commercial producers use a chemical solvent, usually hexane, a component of petrol. The seeds are washed in this chemical, which dissolves the oil, and then the hexane is boiled off. What you're left with is a highly refined oil that has been through an aggressive industrial process. The cold-pressed version is incredibly rare and expensive. So, that healthy oil in your pantry is, oh, the irony, a salvaged waste product that's been given a chemical bath. Fact the 35th. Cherry flavor, a chemistry set's fever dream. You're enjoying a cherry-flavored sweet, soda, or yogurt. You love that bold, distinctive cherry taste. It's so much more cherryish than actual cherries, right? There's a good reason for that. That flavor is a complete fabrication. The dominant chemical used to create artificial cherry flavor is called benzaldehyde. It's a compound that smells vaguely of almonds and is much, much simpler than the complex cocktail of chemicals that make up the taste of a real cherry. Food scientists latched onto this one cheap, stable chemical decades ago and decided, yep, this is what cherries will taste like from now on. They have trained us from childhood to associate this almondy, chemical taste with cherry. You're not tasting the fruit. You're tasting a lazy, decades-old scientific consensus. It's a cultural delusion, a flavor lie we've all agreed to believe. Fact the 36th. The extra virgin olive oil heist, a mafia masterpiece. You spend the extra money on a dark green bottle of extra virgin olive oil with "first cold pressed" proudly displayed on the label. You imagine sun-drenched Italian groves and families lovingly harvesting olives. You're a discerning consumer, and you deserve the best. The global olive oil market, however, is one of the most corrupt food industries in the world, rife with what the Italian authorities call the agro-mafia. A huge percentage of the EVOO sold in supermarkets is, wait for it, a fake. It's often low-quality olive oil, or worse, cheap soybean or canola oil that has been mixed with chlorophyll and beta-carotene to give it the right color and flavor profile. It's a massive, fraudulent operation. You're paying a premium for liquid gold, but you're getting a cheap, counterfeit blend. Don Corleone himself would admire the sheer audacity of this business plan. You're not anointing your salad, you're just pouring a well-disguised lie over it. Fact the 37th. Why bar peanuts are a petri dish. You're at a bar, and there's a communal bowl of peanuts on the counter. A free snack! You dip your hand in and grab a handful. You've just shaken hands, microbiologically speaking, with every unwashed, grimy hand that's been in that bowl before you. Numerous studies have found that these innocent-looking bowls are teeming with bacteria. Researchers have discovered everything from E. coli to staphylococcus on bar nuts. Not to mention, oh, you'll love this, traces of urine found in multiple samples. People go to the toilet, don't wash their hands properly, and then dive right into that shared bowl. It's not a friendly snack. It's a bacterial buffet, a tiny, salty public swimming pool for germs. You might as well be licking the door handle of the men's room. That free snack could cost you a few days of digestive misery. Fact the 38th. Hotel ice machines, the forgotten slime kingdom. You get to your hotel room and decide you want a nice cold drink. You grab that plastic bucket and head to the ice machine down the hall. You fill it with sparkling, clean-looking ice. But when was the last time that machine was actually cleaned? Hotel ice machines are notoriously neglected. They are dark, moist environments, the perfect breeding ground for mold, mildew, and bacteria. Health inspections have frequently found pink and black slime, a charming substance known as biofilm, growing inside these machines. The ice scoops are handled by hundreds of strangers, and sometimes people even use the ice bin as a personal cooler for their beers or, God forbid, a sick bag. You are not putting clean, frozen water in your drink. You are putting, get this, little cubes of cryogenically preserved filth into your glass. You'd probably be better off drinking straight from the tap. Fact the 39th. The bliss point. Why you can't eat just one chip. Have you ever wondered why you can devour an entire family-sized bag of crisps in one sitting, even when you're not hungry? It's not a lack of willpower. It's science. Food companies spend millions of dollars to engineer their products to hit something called the bliss point. This is the perfect, scientifically calculated combination of salt, sugar, yes, there's sugar in your savory snacks, and fat that triggers the pleasure centers in your brain in the most addictive way possible. They fine-tune the crunch, the mouthfeel, and the way the flavor dust melts on your tongue. They are not making food. They are designing a neurologically irresistible substance. You are not making a conscious choice to eat another one. Your brain's ancient reward system is being, seriously, hijacked by a team of food scientists in a lab coat. You never stood a chance against that bag of crisps. The game was rigged from the start. Fact the 40th. Aged cheese, the impatient teenager of the dairy world. You buy a block of aged cheddar, paying more for that sharp, complex flavor that only time can create. You imagine wheels of cheese resting peacefully for years in a cool, dark cellar. That's a lovely story for a bedtime book. To speed up the process and get the product to market faster, some manufacturers use a trick. They add specific enzymes like lipases and proteases to the milk. These enzymes aggressively break down the fats and proteins in the cheese, artificially creating the sharp, tangy flavor compounds that are characteristic of true aging. This can shave months or even years off the maturation time. It's not a natural process of slow development, it's a chemical shortcut, a forced and hurried puberty for cheese. You're not tasting the wisdom of age, you're tasting the flavor of impatience, a product that's been rushed through its adolescence with a shot of chemical hormones. Fact the 41st. Made with real fruit, a masterclass in legal lying. You see the phrase made with real fruit on the box of a snack bar or a sugary drink, and you feel a wave of relief. It's not just junk food, it's got fruit in it. You're making a healthier choice. But that phrase is one of the most meaningless and deceptive in the entire marketing playbook. The real fruit in question could be a minuscule drop of grape juice concentrate at the very bottom of a long list of ingredients that is otherwise dominated by corn syrup, artificial colors, and modified starch. Legally, they haven't lied. Technically, there is some fruit derivative in there, but the implication that the product is wholesome or naturally fruity is a complete fabrication. It's like finding a single eyelash from a horse in a can of dog food and labeling it made with real stallion. You're not eating a fruity snack, you're eating a sugar delivery system that once briefly shared a room with a piece of fruit. Fact the 42nd. Fountain soda, the art of the short pour. You're at a fast food restaurant filling up your giant cup at the soda fountain. You think you're getting a great deal on a refreshing beverage. But that machine is a finely tuned, profit-generating device. The syrup that gives the soda its flavor is the most expensive component. The machine is calibrated to mix that syrup with carbonated water right as it pours into your cup. And restaurant managers can, and often do, tweak that calibration. They can set the machine to dispense slightly less syrup and slightly more carbonated water than the official ratio. The difference is so small that you'd never notice the taste, but over thousands of servings, it adds up to a significant saving for the restaurant. You're not getting the same drink you'd get in a can. You're getting a slightly, wait for it, watered-down version, a ghost of the real thing, all to save the corporation a fraction of a penny on your purchase. Fact the 43rd. Grill flavor, the taste of liquid smoke. You bite into a flame-grilled burger from a fast food joint or a barbecue-flavored crisp, and you can almost taste the charcoal, the open flame. It tastes like a summer cookout. But that smoky, grilled flavor very rarely comes from an actual grill. It's an illusion created by an ingredient called liquid smoke. This concoction is made by burning wood chips or sawdust and capturing the resulting smoke in condensers. The condensed liquid is then bottled and sold as a potent flavoring agent. A few drops can make anything taste like it just came off a barbecue. That burger patty was likely cooked on a flat, gas-powered griddle, and the grill marks are often, seriously, branded on with a superheated metal tool. You're not tasting a traditional cooking method. You're tasting a factory-bottled campfire, a clever bit of culinary ventriloquism. Fact the 44th. Decaf coffee, the caffeinated wolf in sheep's clothing. You drink decaf because you love the taste of coffee but want to avoid the caffeine jitters. You feel like you found the perfect, sensible compromise. Well, decaf does not mean caffeine-free, not even close. The decaffeination process, which usually involves washing the beans with chemical solvents, is not 100% effective. A standard cup of decaf coffee still contains a small amount of caffeine, typically somewhere between 2 and 15 milligrams. While that's a lot less than a regular coffee, it's not zero. If you're particularly sensitive to caffeine or drink several cups of decaf a day, you could easily be consuming the equivalent of a full cup of regular coffee without even realizing it. You think you've quit, but you're just microdosing. It's the nicotine patch of the beverage world, keeping your addiction quietly simmering just below the surface. Fact the 45th. Yeast extract, the secret agent of flavor. You're reading the ingredients on a packet of crisps, a pot of gravy, or a can of soup, and you see yeast extract. Sounds natural enough, right? It comes from yeast. What you're actually looking at is MSG's clever, unassuming cousin. Yeast extract is produced by breaking down yeast cells, which releases their contents. The key component is glutamic acid, the very same amino acid that gives monosodium glutamate, MSG, its powerful, savory, umami flavor. Food manufacturers love it because it allows them to add that addictive, meaty, moreish taste to their products without having to put the scary MSG acronym on the label, which many health-conscious consumers actively avoid. It's a stealth flavor enhancer, a Trojan horse of tastiness. You think you're eating a simple, natural product, but you're being manipulated by the same chemical wizardry, just under a different, friendlier-sounding name. Fact the 46th. Fresh fish on a bed of ice. A cold, wet lie. You're at the supermarket fish counter and you see beautiful fillets of fish resting on a pristine bed of crushed ice. It screams freshness, purity, straight from the trawler goodness. You choose it over the frozen fish because you want the best quality. But that bed of ice is often just theater. A huge amount of the fresh fish sold in supermarkets was actually frozen solid on the fishing boat, sometimes for weeks or months, and then thawed out just before being put on display. The ice is there to keep it cool and looking presentable, but it does nothing to reverse the fact that you're buying a previously frozen product. It's a clever piece of retail stagecraft. You're paying the higher fresh fish price for a product that has simply been defrosted for your convenience. It's not fresh, it's just not frozen right now. Fact the 47th. Horseradish in a jar, the root of all fillers. You buy a jar of prepared horseradish to go with your Sunday roast beef. You want that potent, sinus-clearing kick. But if you're buying the cheap stuff, you're getting more than just root. To bulk out the product and increase their profit margins, some manufacturers mix the grated horseradish with a host of cheap fillers. We're talking about things like dried milk powder, corn flour, or even plain old wheat flour. They add preservatives and stabilizers to keep it from turning brown and losing its punch. The label might say horseradish, but what you're actually getting is a bit of horseradish mixed into a bland, starchy paste. You're not getting pure, unadulterated heat. You're getting a diluted, thickened, and chemically preserved imitation that's been padded out like a bad resume. You'd get more of a kick from sniffing a permanent marker. Fact the 48th. Edible glitter, the sparkly nothingness. You see a cupcake or a donut covered in beautiful, shimmering, edible glitter. It looks so magical, so festive, you can't resist. But what exactly is that sparkly stuff you're eating? Most food-grade glitter is made from gum arabic, a type of hardened tree sap, a bit of sugar, and FDA-approved colorants. It is designed to be completely non-toxic and to pass through your digestive system without being absorbed. In other words, it has the exact same nutritional value as a mouthful of sand. 0. It is a purely aesthetic ingredient, a decorative flourish with no flavor, no texture, and no purpose other than to look pretty for the 5 seconds before you consume it. You are eating crystallized tree sap to make your cake look like a fairy tale princess's accessory. It's the ultimate triumph of style over substance, a delicious-looking void. Fact the 49th. The soup of the day, a leftover's last stand. You're at a restaurant, and the waiter proudly announces the soup of the day. It sounds so special, so creative. A unique dish crafted by the chef just for today. The reality is often far less glamorous. The soup of the day is frequently the kitchen's ingenious way of using up ingredients that are about to go bad. That slightly wilted celery, those offcuts of roast beef from last night, the fish that's a day away from being questionable. Throw it all in a pot, add some stock and spices, and boil it into submission. Voila! You have a brand new, premium-priced menu item. It's not a celebration of culinary creativity, it's a shrewd act of inventory management. You are eating a delicious, but ultimately cynical, casserole of leftovers. It's the kitchen's equivalent of cleaning out the back of the fridge, but you get to pay a tenner for it. Fact the 50th. Bottled water, the greatest scam in human history. And finally, the king of all cons. You buy a bottle of water, pristine and pure, sourced from a majestic mountain spring or an ancient Arctic glacier, as the label suggests. You're hydrating responsibly. Now, look closer at that label. If you see the words purified water or from a municipal source, congratulations. You have just paid 2,000 times the price for filtered tap water. Companies take the same water that flows into your home for fractions of a penny, run it through a few extra filters, bottle it in petroleum-based plastic that will pollute the planet for centuries, and then sell it back to you at the price of petrol. It is the most audacious, brilliant, and outrageously successful business model ever conceived. Selling people something they already get for practically free. You're not buying purity, you're buying a marketing concept in a plastic bottle. And with that, your trip to the supermarket will never be the same again. You're welcome. And there you have it. Your kitchen is now a crime scene, and every package in your pantry is a suspect. Your trips to the supermarket will transform from a mundane chore into a high-stakes intelligence mission. You thought you were buying food. In reality, you were buying expertly crafted fiction, bottled illusions, and powdered lies. Life has become a little more complicated, hasn't it? But take comfort in one thing. You're no longer the punchline to the food industry's oldest joke. So go on. Read the ingredients. Question everything. And remember the golden rule. If the marketing looks too good to be true, it's probably made of sawdust. Bon appétit!